We're still in the story of Esther, and Esther has to go and speak to the king. We've just started, so you're brilliant, just in time. So Queen Esther needs to go and speak to the king, but in those days it was different. She's not allowed unless the king invites her, so it was a risk, a big risk. She could actually be put to death if the king wasn't ready to listen to her. Esther knew that she would need God to be with her. So she said that her and her maids, as well as Mordecai and his friends, they were all going to fast and pray for 3 days to ask God to go with her. And now the day has come. So Esther gets her royal robe. She gets herself all ready. She puts on her best robe. She puts on her royal crown. She takes a deep breath, and now she's ready to go before the king. As she's walking towards the court, I don't know, maybe she passes some of the king's officials. Maybe they try to warn her and say, Esther, don't forget, you can't go into the king unless he's called for you. You could be put to death, well, unless he holds out his royal scepter. But Esther doesn't let that stop her. Esther walks on into the court, and there she sees the king sitting on his throne. She looks at the king looks at her, and he holds out his royal scepter. He's ready to listen to her.
Esther, what can I do for you? You know I'll give you anything, even up to half my kingdom, I'll give it to you.
But Esther doesn't tell the king just yet what it is that she wants. So instead she says, I would like for you to come for dinner this evening, and please bring your friend Haman. And so the king agreed. Haman and the king came to have dinner with Esther. And after dinner, you know, the king, he knew that Esther had risked her life to come and speak to him. He knew that she wouldn't have done that just to invite him to dinner. So once again, he said to her,
Esther, what is it that you want? Because you know anything you want, I'll just give it to you.
Once again, Esther didn't say what it was just yet. This time she said instead, both of you please come to dinner again tomorrow, then I'll tell you my request. Well rehearsed as usual. Yes. So then, Haman and the king both leave. Haman sets off home, and on his way home, he's well fed, he's happy, he's so proud of himself. But then he sees Mordecai. And Mordecai still refuses to bow down to Haman. Mordecai makes Haman feel really angry. He remembers how much he hates those Jews. He hates them all, especially Mordecai. But he really tried not to let it spoil his wonderful evening with the king and queen. Too late. It had spoiled it. Haman goes home, and he calls his wife and his friends together, and he says to them all, you all know how wonderful I am. You know how rich I am. You know how important and how famous I am. You know that I'm second in command to the king. In fact, the king is my friend. But that's not all. Wait till I tell you what happened today. Today, I got invited to go for dinner with Queen Esther. Now, the king was there too, but it was just the king and the queen and me. Nobody else. I'm so special. I was their special guest. And there's more. I've been invited to go back again tomorrow. Well, Haman's wife thought he must be so special. He must be so happy and proud. But Haman said, on the way home I saw that man, that Jew, that Mordecai. He still didn't bow down to me. He wasn't even afraid of me. He makes me so angry. He spoilt my whole day again. He was so cross he was in a huff. His wife said to him, why don't you do something about it? And he said, I know, I've got a plan in place. I've made a new law. On the 13th day of the 12th month, all the Jews will be killed. They'll be out of my life forever and not be happy until that day. Haman's wife had an idea. She said, if Mordecai is really annoying you that much, why wait till then? Do it now. Why don't you kill Mordecai now? Build the gallows, hang him on the gallows, and then you'll be rid of him. And tomorrow you'll be able to go to the second banquet, feasted with Queen Esther, and this time you'll be able to enjoy it with nothing to spoil it. Haman thought that was a great idea, and he thought, what I'll do is I'll get up early and I'll go and speak to the king about it. And in the meantime, he ordered his servants to build the gallows, and Haman went to bed. Meanwhile, when the king went home, he went back to his palace. He was also well fed, very happy. But I imagine he was also a little bit confused, a little bit curious. What is it that Esther really wants from me? Why did she risk her life to come to me? He didn't know the answer, and he hoped that tomorrow Esther would tell him. So that night, the king went to bed. Good night. Sleep tight. You need your breakfast. So that night, the king went to bed. He tucked himself in, with his head on his pillow, closed his eyes, but he just couldn't get to sleep. He tossed, and he turned, and he wriggled about, and he just couldn't get to sleep. So he got up. He paced up and down he went, trying to tire himself out. He went back to bed to see if that would work. He lay down, he pulled the blankets up around him, tried to get to sleep, but once again it just didn't work. So he asked his servants to bring the palace records. He thought, if they read that to me, it must be so boring, that'll help me to drift off to sleep. And they started to read. They were reading through the court records, and they came to the part where it said, Mordecai, the Jew, heard about a plot. 2 people were plotting to kill the king. Mordecai reported it, and that saved the king's life.
Hey, stop.
What?
Read that bit again.
Well, it says, Mordecai heard about a plot to kill the king, and he reported it, and that saved the king's life.
So, what did we do with Mordecai then?
Well, that's all it says, there's nothing else.
Check and see.
Well, there's nothing. I mean, there's no reward or nothing. Not even a thank you.
What?
Here.
Seriously?
Nothing.
Seriously? Is there any man officials in this court?
Well, at that time, Haman had just arrived. Now remember, Haman's coming to speak to the king about having Mordecai killed. This is the man who's just saved the king's life, or at least they just read about the time when he did. So the king sent for Haman. Haman came in, and the king said to him,
Haman, I have someone really special I want to honour in a very, very special way. Tell me, how can I really honour somebody?
well, Haman thought to himself, I'm so special. I'm the one the king thinks is special. I'm the one he must be going to reward. So I get to pick my own reward. What will I choose? I'll choose something really good. Now, remember, Haman's already rich. Haman already has everything he needs. But there's one thing Haman can't get enough of: himself. So he thought to himself, he loves being important. He loves being the centre of attention. So he said to the king, if you really have someone special that you want to reward, I suggest bring one of the royal robes, bring one that you would even wear yourself, and bring out one of the horses from the royal stables, the one that you would ride yourself. And I would get, if I was you, I would get one of the noble princes to lead that man around the city in a parade and tell everyone, this is the special person who the king rewards, and this is the reward that the king has given.
Haman, that is absolutely brilliant. Now go and get Mordecai and do exactly what you have said and leave nothing out?
Really? Mordecai? Remember, Mordecai, Haman wants to kill him. Now he has to go and take him on a parade around the city saying he's the best. The king likes this man, and the king's giving him a reward. There was nothing more Haman could do. He had to do it. So he put on the king's robe onto Mordecai, the one he thought he was going to wear himself. He put Mordecai up on the king's horse, the one he wanted to ride himself, and he led him through the city, saying, "This is the man the king rewards." He was devastated. He was mortified. He couldn't wait for it to be over. He hung his head. He didn't want anybody to see him. And he went home. And he said to his wife and his friends, "Wait till you hear what happened today." And he told them all about it. And his wife said to him, "Haman, maybe you're never going to win over Mordecai. Mordecai is a Jew. Maybe his God is with him. Maybe you'll never be able to win over him." And now even the king is taking notice of Mordecai. And as they were chatting about all these things, the servants arrived to take Haman to the next banquet with Queen Esther. And that's where we're going to leave the story for today. But what can we learn from the story? We have three main characters. Esther, she was courageous. She was brave. Or was she? We know that she prayed and asked God to be with her. The Bible doesn't tell us, but I know if it was me, and I'm being honest, if it was me, I might pray for God to help me, but I'd still be nervous. I mean, after all, I'm going to see the king, which is against the law, and he might put me to death. I'd still be a little bit afraid. But Esther didn't react. Esther didn't act on her fear. If Esther acted on her fear, she wouldn't have gone. But Esther acted in faith. Esther acted on God's promise, "I'll be with you." She already had the banquet ready. That's faith. And that was what we can learn from Esther. Let's think about Mordecai. He knows there's a plan to kill the Jews. He's asked God to help. It hasn't happened yet. But he still keeps on. He doesn't change. He keeps on trusting, obeying God, and still refuses to bow to Mordecai, to Haman, because he knows that would be wrong. And sometimes God tests our faith. Sometimes we ask for things, and maybe we will eventually get what we need from God. But it seems to be taking a long time. Sometimes God will give us little signs along the way to let us know that He's still there, He's still in control, and things will happen only in His time. So, Mordecai had a sign. God caused the king to remember Mordecai. He remembered him, and he realised that he was a good and faithful citizen. And what about evil Haman? Well, things have now started to go wrong for him. And sometimes you might see this in life where you think, but I'm trusting God, I'm believing God, nothing seems to be happening. There are people out there who don't even trust in God, and they're getting all the good things. And sometimes that's the way it seems. But remember, God has a plan for us. We might not always see all of God's plan, but He does have one. Little by little, step by step, God will work things out for our good. And that's what we want to remember. So next week, we'll find out the next part of Esther's story. Is she going to tell the king what she wants? Is she going to reveal the fact that she is one of the Jews as well? Let's see next week. Now, I'm going to sing a new song today.
This was new to me this morning.
Right, so I'm going to show you the actions. Right, so God is good to me. God is good to me. Although I'm small, He hears my call. God is good to me. Okay? Now, we're going to sing the first verse since we get the tune. And when we come to the second verse, I will sing the first verse first. This time.
God's good to me. God's good to me. Although I'm small, He hears my call. God is good to me.
It's easy. Gordon learned it this morning. Right. So now we'll sing it all. And the second verse is, Ready?